Right before my SATs, my parents threw me out so my spoiled sister could host her friends for her wedding. When I asked her for help, she told me to live on the streets. So I sent everything to her fiancé and his family, and now the groom has called off the wedding and everyone's in chaos. I'm 17, and for a long time, I'd been pouring all my energy into preparing for the SATs. But then my family, who I honestly consider the worst, decided to kick me out of the house. They wanted to send me to stay with my aunt in the suburbs, all because my sister, Melissa, was getting married in 2 weeks. Her friends were flying in, and she'd invited them to stay at our place. I couldn't grasp why they couldn't just book a hotel for them, like every other wedding guest. Sure, it would cost money, but it was her wedding, and given how much our parents were already bankrolling, I figured an extra hotel wouldn't break the bank. What made it even more infuriating was that my parents didn't even give me a heads up. They dropped this bombshell on me the evening before Melissa's friends were due to arrive, demanding I vacate my room within 24 hours. I tried to argue, suggesting her 7 friends could use the living room and guest room, but they scoffed. It would be impolite, they said, to cram guests when I had a whole room to myself. They then launched into a lecture about hospitality, despite these not being my guests and me having 0 prior notice. I even brought up Melissa and her fiancé, Jack, having their own apartment, thinking some guests could stay there. But that was a firm no. My parents didn't want anything adding to the stress of the wedding. I exhausted every argument, every plea to stay, but my parents were unwavering. Melissa had already promised her friends our house, and that was that. I threw a huge fit because the thought of staying with my aunt, especially before the SATs, was a nightmare. She's incredibly eccentric, doesn't believe in the internet, so no Wi-Fi. That would decimate my study routine, eating up all my precious data. I tried explaining this to my parents, but they simply told me to take my books, as if that solved anything. Another critical issue was her location in the suburbs, miles from my SAT testing center. I couldn't risk being late for something so important, and the commute would be impossibly long. I even offered to sleep in the living room myself, but they deemed it unseemly and refused to hear another word. When I tried to stand my ground, they threatened to toss all my belongings onto the street, warning me not to test them. Defeated, I gave up a few hours later, packing my bags. My parents, now radiating satisfaction, praised me for making the right choice